And the reason, one of the reasons why we have to follow it is that one thing is your body, your hemoglobin level is going to go down a bit. The patient's hemoglobin goes up by 1 gram per cell if 1 unit is transfused. That means if the patient's hemoglobin is 7 and I give your blood back to him, that is the red blood cell, it will go to 8. Then I give another one, it will go to 9. So it rises by 1 gram per cent usually, approximate value, this is how it is. And to maintain the safety of the donor also, there is a level which is set up. Another thing is, whatever blood is collected, the oxygen carrying capacity of the bag has to be optimal. If I collect a donor's blood who is at 8 and 9, then the oxygen carrying capacity of that blood is not optimal. So that effect will not be seen in the patient. That is the reason why the optimal functioning red blood cell is needed. Then the blood pressure of the donor is also checked. We have already told what is the normal 120 by 80. But if you are up till 160 also it is accepted. As per our guidelines, even 180 is accepted. The cutoff for the top value is 180. But to be on the safer side, we would keep it at 160. So if your your BP, you have just traveled a lot or you've climbed up stairs and now you just come in a hurry to donate blood, suddenly you will say, oh my god, my BP has shot up to 150, and then you will say, oh my god, I'm a high BP patient. No, it's because of that activity, the cardiac output has gone up. You rest for 15 minutes, again you check the BP, it might come to the normal range. But there are persons who have a persistent high BP. Those are the candidates for antihypertensive drugs. So on the day of the donation, the donor is asked to have a balanced meal, a light meal within 4 hours, drink plenty of fluid but no alcohols and caffeines, and to avoid fatty foods. A lot of people are used to having cheese and burgers, and so that is avoidable. Why? Because when you eat all these high fat foods, it directly has a bearing on the plasma. So the plasma, immediately we see it on a daily basis. People who have had chicken, burgers, pizzas with a lot of cheese, the plasma is lipemic. Lipemic is like a normal person's plasma would be a translucent shade, whereas in a lipemic it will become turbulent. It becomes whitish yellow. Okay, so you have such a drastic effect of foods on the blood, and that plasma, mind you, is thrown up. Also on the day of, it's advisable not to have cigarette smoke and alcohol, mainly for the donors. Because, why? Alcohol, because you will be tipsy, after the donation you will fall and you will have an injury, and then you will get a blood donate case and you will go. And smoking, because smoking is a vasodilator. When you have nicotine has got various kinds of effects on the body, euphoria, and causes vasodilatation. The blood will pool into the lower extremities and the brain will get less of blood. So once the brain gets less blood, you have fainting attacks. Okay? So even during donation, if we find that a person is feeling fainting, what do? We give him a head load. That means the head is at a lower position, the leg is up. So the brain gets more blood and it functions normally. Yeah, any joke, please tell me. Okay, the process of donation, the donation site, that is the arm from which the blood is donated, is cleaned with a sequence of spirit, iodine spirit. We clean it with disinfectant solution, and then with spirit. The video is not working, so I'm not showing it. This thing is not working. So it's not working. So it is cleaned with this disinfectant solution, and it's collected in the sterile bag. The actual donation process will take anywhere between 4 minutes to 10 minutes, depending on the blood flow and the thickness of the vein. And also small blood sample is collected so that the blood can be tested for certain infectious diseases, which I'll come to later. Any questions here? Anybody has donated blood? Oh, lots of. Any inputs you have from your side about your blood donation experience?
Yes, I have strange. When I tried to donate blood,
Please be louder.
He tied something here and pierced the needle, but blood didn't get out. Why was so? It was so painful. He pierced 2 times. And it was above my imagination. He pierced that needle so inside and still he didn't
Yeah,
get blood.
okay. See, what is done is, let me come to what is happening. See, you have, this is the antecubital area of the arm, and it has got certain veins. So the veins have a specific direction. There are 2 joining veins and then a common vein. So you have these veins which are located in this area. So the reason why it is tied here first is, once it is tied, these veins become prominent. Once they become prominent, you feel what is the direction of the vein. And then the needle which is supposed to go into the arm has to be put in the direction of that vein which is there in the arm. So what has happened in this case is, the needle has not gone into the vein, it's gone into the tissue. So the blood will not, whatever blood, if a little bit comes into the needle, would be tissue blood. Vein will have the free flowing blood, and we want that blood to come into the needle. So what has happened in your case is, it's not gone into the needle, and the pain is, I'll come to what pain is. Any other experiences?
Ma'am, I have a question. Is there a case that even if you're scared, the blood doesn't come out? That's what I heard doctors say. If you're scared, that's easy come out.
Scary feeling can be, can have multitude of effects on your body, mainly the brain. But if the person who is taking the phlebotomy is scared, it will have an advantage. The person who is sitting on the bed and that's not too much of a problem. Okay, after the donation, you given some refreshment, not a big plate of goodies, but coffee is given. And mainly this coffee is given so that the volume replacement, the immediate volume replacement happens. That's why the coffee is given. Some people say, I like cold drinks, and they want wafers and all. So fatty foods and all is highly avoidable. Biscuits and coffee give to make up for the immediate volume replacement. This you're seeing some boxes here. This was a special day. We were celebrating a voluntary blood donors day that day, and all the donors got box full of blood. And of course, this is the time when there is a team to look at you if you are having any kind of a problem post-donation. So you have doctors, nurses, technicians, so they can take care of that immediate 20 minutes that you are there. If you have any dizziness or any reaction, then the team is available to take care of the reactions. Now coming to, you have given a blood sample along with the blood. So what are the tests which are done on the blood sample? One is the blood group. This blood count is done if a donor is a platelet donor. So in that case, only this is applicable. Tests are done for AIDS, that is anti-HIV antibody, anti-HCV and hepatitis B surface antigen. These are tests for hepatitis, that is in layman's term a jaundiced person. Syphilis, VDRL test. The syphilis is a sexually transmitted disease, and malaria. So these are the basic tests which are done on every blood unit or every blood donor who has donated. So these are screening tests. So even tests are done with different methods. So a screening test, there's a confirmatory test. We are not a pathology lab. The blood bank is not a pathology lab. So we do screening tests. The screening test will, in accuracy will be a little, it's not a confirmatory test. Confirmation test is far more superior technique. So pathology lab will give you a report in hand after they have done all the confirmatory tests and say yes, you are HIV positive. Here we will do a screening test and we will, even an iota of doubt, we would throw the bag away. So we are not telling a person that based on these tests that whatever you are HIV positive, because there are a lot of legal implications and all that. So our main concern is the bag should not have an organism which is going to the patient. So even a minute reactivity in the bag, we would throw the bag away.
Don't you inform the concerned person that your blood group, so this report was positive for your ideally?
Yeah. Around 2 years back, 3 hospitals in Bombay started this trial where we would inform the donor, and we were one of them. Where when the donor is donating the blood, we give him a consent form. In that, all these tests are written down, and we ask the donor, do you want to know the result first of all after the blood is tested? If he says yes, then the donor comes in person and takes we tell him the report, in the sense that if he is negative, we would not give him in hand a negative report. We will tell him you are safe to donate blood again. You are negative for all that you have done. But by chance he is reactive, then we have tie-ups with some labs and some voluntary counseling testing centers. So for HIV, we cannot point blank tell a person we did some tests, you're positive. And this is what happens instead. So what we would do is we would send a sample of this to counseling center where they do the tests in 3 different formats, and they would give us a coded form that yes, he is positive. And we would ask him to go to the counseling center, because this is one area where it has to be dealt with counseling. You need counselors to deal, because HIV is something where the reactions of a person who comes to know is positive are there are various steps. First is denial, then slowly acceptance, and there will be various different emotional things attached to it. So that is done with the help of a counselor. And for other things like hepatitis, we have tied up with Metropolis Blood Bank, Metropolis Lab, and we have in hand a report which says that the level of hepatitis is so and so tighter. But as of now, this we are doing for in-house donors. That means a person who has come to the hospital blood bank and donated. We have not done this for camps, for blood donation camps. Because camp is one place where you have high activity in a short time, and all these details cannot be covered. So we do this for in-house blood donors. But a person who wants to know the report, the best thing is to go to a path lab, not use a blood bank as a laboratory, because these are screening tests.
Now, when you do so much of, these all tests, who actually pays for this thing? Because it's very expensive.
See, we are first of all a government hospital. We are under the central government, and the patients who come to Tata come in different categories. So we have a non-chargeable category, we have a chargeable category, we have a private category, and a foreign category. So we have these different categories. The schedule of charges for each category is laid down by the hospital authorities. So the blood bag that is issued to a patient, the patient ends up paying for the bag, and the test, the cost of this test is made up from this kind of a generation that is taken from the patient. So every department has its own budget, but the recovery of that budget is done by the hospital administration through the patient charges. But almost 50% are, because it's a central government, 50% of our patients come in that non-chargeable or chargeable, where it's very subsidized.
When you say screening test, is there a possibility that there is a blood which is HIV positive but gets passed because it was just a screening test, not a conformity test?
The screening test that is used, the sensitivity of that is very high. The sensitivity is far more than the other tests. The sensitivity we want to be high because there is something known as sensitivity, there is something known as specificity. So sensitivity is if you have a dart on which you are throwing your pointer and it goes and hits the center. That's your sensitivity. And if you are putting that dart 2 or 3 times, how close it is to that center point, that is your specificity. So the sensitivity of these screening tests is very high. So the reason is we want, even if a person is negative and if he comes out positive, we don't mind it. We want to make it as far as safe as possible and we'll throw the barrier. We'll use something which is very highly sensitive. Whereas a path lab would want to be very specific also, because they cannot give wrong information to a person. Otherwise they'll be sued big time. Right? Now, you might say, why should I donate blood? I am happy as I am. But donating blood saves lives. It is the noblest of all deeds, is what it is considered. One blood donation saves 3 lives. That means one blood, if you have donated one blood, it will be separated into 3, it will be going to 3 different patients. So it saves 3 lives. there is no substitute for human blood as of now. Every patient who has problems and low counts has to be given only blood. There are some things like erythropoietins and all, but nothing can replace blood. And humans have excess blood, that means the blood that 5 liters in a 70 kg person is far more than what your body would need, and a little bit given to a person will not make a difference to your body. How is that? Please come. What are the benefits of blood donation to the donor? One is satisfaction that you have saved lives. You don't have to become a doctor or go to the border and be a Jawan, but you can lead your normal life and save lives. Health benefits, you get some free checkups. We all tend to ignore our health, and some basic parameters, at least you know what it is. New blood cells are regenerated in the body at a fast pace. As I told you, all the blood cells are regenerated in the marrow, which is inside the bone. So this regeneration pace is very fast, specifically when the blood is going out of the body. So your 450 ml which has gone out, the bone marrow gets a signal that some blood has gone, and it will regenerate new cells at a fast pace. So your body gets new cells. Now this is one study which is done by Kansas University. They followed up some donors for 10 years, and they found that the incidence of heart attacks in donors was 30% lesser. Reduction in high iron levels. There would be some in women you don't get high ions because there is a monthly menstruation and loss of iron, but in males, some people who have high iron levels, with this kind of a donation, it helps to regulate the iron levels in the body. And of course, people who work in government setups, they get leave post donation, 1 day leave. I've placed that at the yeah.
If a donor has got initial stage of cancer and he donates the blood, are there any chances that the patient who is getting the blood will be
See, one of the conditions is polycythemia vera. That means a person who has polycythemia vera, the hemoglobin count is more than 18. Normal is up till say 13, 14. At the most we can accept is 17. But a person who has more than 18 hemoglobin, it is called a precancerous condition. It is called polycythemia vera. And such donors we prefer for blood donation. So any precancerous condition or a person who has been diagnosed with cancer and treated, some tumor seeds are remaining in his body, we wouldn't know. So such cases would be avoided. They would be deferred.
So before the donation, these tests are done, basic tests. Which should
A
detect.
test is not done for polycythemia vera.
Before donating, doctors check the hemoglobin level.
Yes.
So does it also include the test which should detect whether the donor is suffering from pre-cancer?
Yeah, hemoglobin values as we do it now. Previously, you would have a blue solution in which your blood drop would go and the copper sulfate and yes, and the person will tell you, "अरे तुम्हारा तो कम है, और 12.5 से कम है, तो नहीं donate कर सकता." But now we use machines which will tell you the accurate value. So if it is at 14, we tell you it's 14. Okay, so if it's at 18, the machine doesn't detect high values. So we know you are very high. So at least the hemoglobin gets taken care of. And the other things of cancer, there will be a history. Of course, a person who is donating platelets, before he donates, we do even a WBC, we do a complete hemogram. We do the hemoglobin on a Coulter, we do his WBC count, platelet count. So there we even come to know whether the WBC count has gone far beyond, So there we can specifically tell the donor your count is very high. Forget about donating, you better get yourself checked. So blood donation facts, it can be donated once in 3 months, 4 times annually. If a person is donating platelets on a cell separator, he can do it almost 24 times. Because the machine is taking only platelets, and the platelets are generated even faster than the red blood cells or the plasma. So these are all guidelines which are not just national, they are international. Even internationally, this is the same thing that is done 24 times annually. So the blood is regenerated by the body rapidly. Plasma, that is the volume of the blood, which is plasma 55% in 24 hours. Red cells may take a bit more time. This varies a little bit because what kind of a diet you are having, that will have an effect. So if you have a balanced diet with a lot of iron-rich food, it will come out even faster. And lost iron within few weeks. And that's why a definite period of 3 months is kept. Abroad it is 2 months. We in India keep it 3 months, considering that the diet of the people might be, you know, bit lesser nutritionally maybe than them. Now, misconceptions about blood donation. Is this one of the feelings that people have? I feel drained out after donation. Well, if you have a good diet, so this is not you after donation on your table. If you have a good diet before and after donation, then you certainly not feel drained out. In fact, you will feel more invigorated because of the new cells that have come into your body, which is produced by the bone marrow, and that satisfaction that I've saved somebody. That is important. Shall I feel dizzy after the donation? Well, here I would like to cite you about one instance when we joined our MBBS course. We are hardly 80, and right from the first day we are told to go into an autopsy room. You have all seen MBBS Munnapan, so I wouldn't go into this. But we were made to sit around cadavers, dead bodies. And obviously this is something new, the first time, and there will be some obviously vegetarian people who have never seen the sight of blood or knowledge, and you have girls might faint. So that phobia is there. So dizziness is also the mental makeup of a person. So if you're seeing blood for the first time and you're feeling dizzy, and that dizziness it is a momentary, can be taken care of. So the best way to get over your phobias is do it again and again. So, yeah. So feeling dizzy after donation is something that you can get over if you're. Then can I perform my normal routine activities? If you are working on heights, air cruise, or you're lifting very heavy weights, then we would tell you that 24 hours, please restrict these activities, and all the other normal routine activities that you do can be immediately, you can go ahead with that.
Immediately.
That means you can come for a lecture again. That depends on the institute policy. If they feel that they can give you concession for a few hours after blood donation, or maybe one day like
So one side the donation is going on and one side the normal routine activities are going.
Some people, shall I get AIDS after here, one thing, the bag which is used is a sterile, one-time use disposable bag, and the needle at the time of donation the cap is removed, and once your donation is over it is removed and it is discarded immediately. Chances of infection coming through blood donation is not possible. In fact, we have to take care that no infection goes into the bag. So the area has to be very clean, because skin is covered with a lot of microflora, floral organisms. So it has to be cleaned very carefully so that no organism enter into the bag. But you getting an infection due to the blood donation is not possible. Shall I have no blood after donating? Well, as I told you, 12.5 is the minimum you should have, only then you can donate. So if 5 liters out of 5 liters, 450 ml goes away, that is not going to cause low blood. Painful. Pain is a very relative term. Tolerance for pain is different among different individuals. So it is as painful as a needle prick can be, and you have a choice where you can say, I want a local anesthetic, I don't want even that needle prick. So a local anesthetic can be used. So you can take care of it. This is just one slide to show you how a platelet donation is done. These are cell separators, specialized machines which are placed. Now nothing very complicated, it looks complicated. This is a disposable set which is used, and we have started a project with Rizvi College where we tell them what is the platelet donation activity, and students come and regularly donate platelets for the patients, cancer patients in Tata. We started this project 3 months back. Excellent response from the students, and it's heartening to know that people really care for these patients, and we're a government setup, so there's no question of profit making or any of those things. So we have some celebrities also. This is the latest photograph. And we have some volunteer blood donors. You won't imagine, who have donated 40 times, 70 times. Some of these donors we don't even call them up. They just mark their dates themselves and come on their own and donate blood. And every 3 months they come. There are some of them who we call up and tell them, see your 3 months or would you like to donate? But voluntary donors, we have even platelet voluntary donors who have one donor who has donated 107 plants. Of course, it's not a number game, but it is the concern with which they come for the patients. So this is just one last slide on how many lives can you save in a lifetime. So eligible age for donation is 18 to 60, so comes to around 42 years. Each year you can do 4 donations. So in 42 years you can do 168 donations. So in one donation you are saving 3 lives. So you can save almost 500 lives in your whole lifetime, which is a big number.
We are running out of time, so we will take only 3 questions. Okay, one, Sanjeevani.
As a blood donor, I would get a card, right? As a blood donor, I would get a card from the hospital that I have donated this much blood. So in future, if I need that, I can get a bottle as against that card. So is there any validity for that?
Yeah, suppose you donated in a clinic, then we will give you a white card which has your name, your blood group, your unit number, your. Now this on the back side there will be some things which are written. One of them is this card is meant for you and your closest relative like father, mother, sister, brother. The reason why it is written is because there is a lot of black marketing going on with cards. People sell it for exorbitant rates. We come to know sometimes and we feel very bad because patients end up paying in thousands. So we don't want black marketing purpose. So we would ask the donor sign to be present on the card, and that card is valid for you or your close relatives, and it has no value. I mean, it has value.
Okay.
Ma'am, as you said, human can donate blood to human only. Like if we see monkeys and chimpanzees, they have almost 99% similarity with human beings. So first case is what will happen if their blood is donated into this body, and second case is if any other animal is blood is taken and injected into human body, what will happen?
What happens in animals is that you have around 200 antigens which have been identified for the human body. The red blood cells and the antigens. There are not many antigens which have been identified. But I have covered the ABO and the RH because these are the antigens where the antibody which is produced is very, the effect of that is very clinically significant. Whereas in animals you have antigens which are different. You will have far more other numbers of antigens and you don't know how this blood will react, and there is bound to be some kind of a agglutination and a hemolytic reaction. That means the red cells will rupture. So you cannot do species changeovers.
Then what will happen
What will happen if a monkey blood is given to a human? There will be a hemolytic reaction because the antigens of the monkey will be different from that of the human. There will be far more. What is a hemolytic reaction? It's a very grave reaction when it occurs. When a blood transfusion, even if you are A positive and if I give you B positive blood, then what will happen is your body doesn't have any B antigens on the red cells. And I have introduced these B antigens. And your blood group is A, which already you have anti-B in your blood, right? So this anti-B which is already present in your blood will act with this B antigen which I have given you, and they will agglutinate. And this agglutinating clumps will cause a severe hemolytic reaction which is known as acute hemolytic reaction. The symptoms are grave. The management is you are in the ICU and you are monitored every hour. And till those hemolytic white cells have gone out of your system, you are in danger. It is fatal reaction.
Anyone else has a question? Yes. My last question.
Yeah, it's okay. No problem.
Is that true that the O positive is a universal blood and each person, O positive person can give a blood to any?
I didn't cover this, but I'm glad you brought it up. There is a group of donors which is the O group donor is said to be a universal donor. The reason is the O person red cell antigens. There are no antigens on the red cells, so it is very safe. And if you remove the plasma from this O person, what will happen? The anti-A and the anti-B is also gone. So this is the O packed cell, which is considered to be the universal donor. That means the red cell with no antigen is safe, his antibodies are removed, and it is the safest blood possible. Next to the same, the first choice is always give the same group. The next choice is O packed cell. And there is a group of donors who are AB. They are known as universal recipients. So this AB person can take blood from an A person, but it is again packed cells. Suppose I give an A packed cell to an AB person, that means I have removed the anti-B from that A person and then given it. So when you are using these terms, you have to be careful because you have to take care that incompatible antigen or antibody is removed. Only then.
Okay, now what we will do,